The great hall of the Galactic Council was quiet. 300 species sat in their seats, watching the holographic display in the center of the room. The image showed a small blue planet spinning slowly in space. Earth, home of the humans. High Chancellor stood at the podium. His 4 arms were folded across his chest, and his silver eyes looked tired. He had lived for 800 years, and he had seen many things, but nothing worried him more than what he was about to say. "Fellow members of the council," began. His voice was deep and serious. "I must speak about the humans." A wave of whispers moved through the hall. Some species laughed quietly, others shook their heads. The humans were young. They had only been traveling through space for 200 years. They were nothing compared to the ancient empires that ruled the galaxy. "The humans are dangerous," continued. "Not because of their technology, not because of their weapons. They are dangerous because of what they are inside." Emperor of the Empire leaned forward in his seat. He was a tall creature with dark blue skin and sharp teeth. His empire controlled 40 star systems, and his fleet was one of the largest in the galaxy. He found this meeting very funny. "High Chancellor," said loudly, "are you telling us to fear these small creatures? They cannot even live for more than 100 years. They are weak. They are soft. What could they possibly do to threaten us?" Turn to look at. There was sadness in his eyes. "Emperor, the humans have a quality that you do not understand. When they are pushed, they do not break. They push back, and they never stop pushing until their enemy is destroyed." Stories laughed. "Nothing but stories to scare children." "They are not stories," said firmly. "I have studied the humans for 50 years. I have watched their history. They have fought wars against each other that killed millions of their own kind, and still they did not stop. They kept fighting until one side won completely. This is not normal behavior. Most species surrender when the cost becomes too high. Humans do not surrender. They would rather die than give up." Waved his hand dismissively. "Then they are stupid. That is not strength. That is foolishness." "It is both," replied, "and that is what makes them dangerous." The council voted that day to issue an official warning. All species were told to leave human space alone. Do not attack them. Do not threaten them. Do not give them a reason to fight. The warning was sent to every corner of the galaxy. Emperor returned to his home world of Prime. He sat on his throne and read the warning again. Then he threw it aside and laughed. "Humans," he said to his advisors. "The council wants us to fear humans. This is an insult to our empire." His chief advisor, a thin named, stepped forward carefully. "My emperor, perhaps we should listen. The council has been wrong before, but they rarely give warnings without reason." "The reason is weakness," snapped. "The council has grown old and tired. They see threats everywhere, but I see opportunity." Stood up from his throne and walked to the large window. Outside, he could see his capital city stretching to the horizon. Millions have lived there, all loyal to him. "The humans have colonized a planet called Seven," said. "It sits at the edge of their territory. It is rich in minerals, resources that our empire needs." Felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "My emperor, you are not suggesting." "I am not suggesting anything," smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "I am ordering. We will take Seven. We will show the galaxy that they do not fear anyone, especially not humans." Far away on the planet Seven, life was peaceful. The colony had been established 30 years ago, and now 50,000 humans called it home. They had built cities and farms. They had created a good life on this distant world. Commander Ho stood on the balcony of the colony headquarters. He was 45 years old, with short black hair and kind eyes. He had served in the Earth Defense Force for 20 years before retiring to this quiet colony. He thought his fighting days were over. His second-in-command captain walked up beside him. She was younger, only 32, with long dark hair tied back in a practical style. She was smart and quick, and Ho trusted her completely. "Beautiful evening," said. looking at the twin suns setting on the horizon. "It is," Ho agreed. "Sometimes I forget how lucky we are to be here." "Any news from Earth?" asked. Ho nodded. "The usual, some political arguments, a new trade agreement with the collective, nothing exciting." Smiled. "Good, I like boring, boring means safe." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the colors change in the sky. Neither of them knew that their peaceful life was about to end. 3 days later, the long-range sensors detected something. Lieutenant, the young officer in charge of communications, called Ho immediately. "Commander, you need to see this," said. His voice was shaking. Ho hurried to the sensor room. When he saw the display, his heart stopped for a moment. There were ships approaching. Many ships, more ships than he had ever seen in one place. "How many?" Ho asked quietly. Swallowed hard. 47 warships, Commander, and they are. Arrived a moment later. She looked at the display and her face went pale. But we have no conflict with them. Why would they?" "It does not matter why," Ho said. His voice was calm, but his mind was racing. "What matters is that they are coming, and we need to be ready." The colony had only 3 small defense ships. They were meant for protecting against pirates, not fighting an imperial fleet. Ho knew they could not win a direct battle, but he also knew something that Emperor did not understand. Humans do not surrender. Ho called an emergency meeting. Every leader in the colony came to the headquarters. Farmers, engineers, teachers, doctors. They all listened as Ho explained what was coming. "We have 2 choices," Ho said. "We can surrender and hope to treat us well, or we can fight and buy time for Earth to send help." An old farmer named Guy stood up. "What happens if we surrender?" "I do not know," Ho admitted. "They have never captured a human colony before. They might treat us fairly, they might not." "And if we fight?" Guy asked. "Then many of us will die," Ho said honestly. "But Earth will know what happened. They will come, and they will make the pay for every human life they take." The room was silent. Then Guy nodded slowly. "My grandfather fought in the last war on Earth. He always told me that freedom is worth dying for. I am old, but I can still hold a weapon." One by one, others stood up. Young and old, men and women, they all made the same choice. They would fight. Organize the defense. Every person who could fight was given a weapon. Those who could not fight would hide in the underground shelters. The 3 defense ships would try to slow down the enemy fleet. Ho sent a message to Earth. It was simple and direct. 7 under attack by forces, 47 enemy ships. We will resist. Send help. Then he picked up his old rifle. He had not used it in 10 years, but his hands still remembered how to hold it. He checked the ammunition and put on his armor. Found him in the armory. "Commander, you should stay in the headquarters. You need to lead from there." Ho shook his head. "I will not ask my people to fight if I am not willing to fight beside them. We do this together, all of us." Smiled sadly. "They have no idea what they started, do they?" "No," Ho agreed, "but they will learn." In orbit above 7, Admiral Thrax commanded the fleet. He was a proud warrior who had won many battles. He expected this mission to be easy. Humans were weak. Everyone knew that. "Admiral," one of his officers reported, "the colony has 3 small ships moving to intercept us." Thrax laughed. 3 ships against 47. Are they insane?" "Perhaps they wish to surrender, Admiral." "Then they would send a message, not ships." Thrax leaned forward in his command chair. "Destroy them. Show these humans what happens when they challenge the Empire." The battle in space lasted only 15 minutes. The 3 human ships were outmatched, but they did not retreat. They flew straight at the fleet, firing every weapon they had. 2 ships were damaged before all 3 human vessels were destroyed. Thrax was surprised. He had expected the humans to run or surrender. Instead, they had fought to the death. "Interesting," Thrax muttered. "Perhaps these humans have more spirit than I thought." He ordered the fleet to approach the planet. The invasion would begin at dawn. On the surface, Ho watched the lights in the sky. He saw the explosions when the defense ships were destroyed. He knew those pilots. They were his friends. They were heroes. "They gave us time," said softly. "Their sacrifice was not wasted." Ho nodded. "Now we make sure it means something. When they land, they will find that taking this colony will cost them more than they ever imagined." The twin suns rose over 7. The landing ships descended through the clouds, and 50,000 humans waited with weapons in their hands. The warning had been ignored. Now the galaxy would see what happened when you pushed humanity too far. The landing ships came down like metal rain. They were huge, each one carrying 500 soldiers and heavy weapons. Admiral Thrax had sent 20 ships for the first wave, 10,000 soldiers to capture a colony of farmers and civilians. He thought it would be enough. He was wrong. Ho watched the ships land from his position in the hills outside the main city. He had split his forces into small groups, hiding them all around the colony. They expected to find their enemy waiting in the city, ready to surrender or be crushed. Instead, they would find empty streets and silence. "Wait for my signal," Ho said into his radio. "Let them spread out. Let them think they have already won." The soldiers marched out of their ships. They were tall and strong, with blue skin and black armor. They carried plasma rifles that could burn through walls. Their commander, General, stood at the front of his army and looked at the quiet city. "Where are they?" asked his lieutenant. "Perhaps they are hiding, General, or they have already fled." Made a sound of disgust. "Cowards, search every building, find them and bring them to me." The soldiers spread out into the city. They kicked down doors and broke windows. They searched homes and shops, but they found no one. The city was empty. What they did not see were the humans watching them, from rooftops, from basements, from hidden tunnels under the streets. 50,000 pairs of eyes followed every move they made. General grew angry. "This is a waste of time. Contact Admiral Thrax. Tell him the colony has been abandoned." But before his lieutenant could send the message, the world exploded. Ho pressed the button on his radio. Now. Hidden bombs went off all across the city. Buildings collapsed on top of soldiers. Streets cracked open beneath their feet. Fire erupted from underground pipes. In seconds, the quiet city became a death trap. Then the humans attacked. They came from everywhere at once, from windows and doors, from sewers and rooftops. They fired their weapons and threw grenades. They did not fight like soldiers. They fought like animals protecting their home. Led a group of 50 fighters through the market district. She moved fast and quiet, hitting enemy positions and disappearing before they could respond. Her team had practiced these tactics for 2 days. They knew every street, every building, every hiding place. 3 targets ahead, whispered Young, her scout. He was only 19, a farmer's son who had never held a weapon before last week. Now he moved like a predator. Nodded, she raised her hand and gave the signal. Her team opened fire. The 3 soldiers fell before they could react. "Move," ordered. "Do not stay in one place. Hit and run, make them chase shadows." Across the city, similar scenes repeated. Small groups of humans attacked from hidden positions, killed as many enemies as they could, then vanished. They tried to fight back, but they could not find an enemy to fight. Every time they turned one direction, attacks came from another. General screamed into his communicator. "What is happening? Report! Someone report!" The reports came in, and each one was worse than the last. 200 soldiers dead in the first 5 minutes, another 100 in the next 10. The humans were everywhere and nowhere. "Fall back to the landing zone," ordered. "Regroup at the ships." But when his soldiers tried to retreat, they found the streets blocked. The humans had collapsed buildings behind them, creating walls of stone and metal. They were trapped in a maze of death. Ho watched from his position on the hill. He felt no joy in the killing. These soldiers were just following orders. They had families somewhere waiting for them to come home, but they had come to take his home, to hurt his people. He could not allow that. "Commander," his radio crackled. It was from the communications center. "The enemy fleet is moving. They are sending more landing ships." "How many?" "All of them, sir. 30,000 more soldiers." Ho closed his eyes for a moment. The trap had worked, but it could only work once. With 30,000 more soldiers, that would overwhelm them through pure numbers. "Understood," Ho said. "Tell everyone to prepare for Phase 2. Phase 2 was simple. When the enemy became too strong to fight directly, the humans would scatter into the wilderness. They would hide in caves and forests and mountains. They would continue to fight, but as ghosts, striking at night, destroying supply lines, making the bleed for every day they stayed on 7. But before Phase 2 began, had one more mission. She gathered her best fighters at the edge of the city, 40 men and women who had proven themselves in the first battle. They looked tired and scared, but their eyes were hard with determination. "The enemy ships are on the ground," said. "Their shields are down. If we can destroy some of them, we slow down their reinforcements." "That is suicide," said Mi-young, a former engineer who had built most of the colony's explosive devices. "Those ships have hundreds of soldiers guarding them." "Yes," agreed, "but they are not expecting us to attack. They think we are hiding in the city. They think we are afraid." She looked at each of her fighters. "I will not lie to you. Many of us will die, but if we succeed, we give our people more time. We give Earth more time to send help. Is that not worth dying for?" No one spoke. Then Mi-young stepped forward. "My daughter is in the shelters. If I die tonight, she will know her mother was brave. Let us do this." One by one, the others agreed. They moved through the darkness, silent as shadows. The landing zone was 2 miles from the city. 20 ships sat on the open plain, their doors open, soldiers moving in and out. The humans crawled through the tall grass, getting closer and closer. His heart pounded in her chest. She could see the nearest ship clearly now. Guards stood at the entrance, looking bored. They had heard about the fighting in the city, but they did not expect the enemy to come here. She raised her hand. Her fighters spread out, each one targeting a different ship. They had agreed on the plan: attack at the same moment, create chaos, plant explosives, run. Counted down in her head, 3, 2, 1. They attacked. The night exploded with gunfire and screaming. Ran straight at the nearest ship, firing her weapon. 2 guards fell. She reached the entrance and threw a grenade inside. Then she kept running, heading for the next ship. All around her, her fighters did the same. Some fell to enemy fire. Others succeeded in reaching their targets. Explosions ripped through the landing zone as ships began to burn. Mi-young made it to the 3rd ship. She planted her largest bomb inside and ran. The explosion lifted her off her feet and threw her into the grass. She felt pain everywhere, but she was alive. "Fall back," shouted. "Everyone fall back." The survivors ran. Behind them, 3 ships burned. 3 more were damaged badly. The enemy soldiers chased them, but the darkness was their friend. The humans knew this land. The did not stop running until she reached the forest. There she counted her people. 40 had gone on the mission. 18 came back. She wanted to cry, but there was no time for tears. In orbit, Admiral Thrax received the report. His face turned dark purple with rage. "How many ships lost?" 3 destroyed, Admiral. 3 more damaged. We also lost 2,000 soldiers in the city fighting. 2,000, Thrax could not believe it. Against farmers, against civilians. "They fight like nothing we have seen before, Admiral. They do not retreat. They do not surrender. They attack even when they cannot win." Thrax stood up from his command chair. He walked to the window and looked down at the planet below. Somewhere on that surface, humans were still fighting, still resisting, still refusing to accept their defeat. For the first time, Thrax felt something he had not felt in many years. He felt doubt. "Send a message to Emperor," Thrax said quietly. "Tell him the campaign is not going as planned. Tell him we need more ships, more soldiers." His officer hesitated. "The Emperor will not be pleased, Admiral." "I do not care about his pleasure," Thrax snapped. "I care about winning, and these humans, they do not know how to lose." On 7, the twin suns rose on a changed world. The city that had been built with hope and hard work was now ruins and ashes. Bodies lay in the streets, human and alike. The smell of smoke and death filled the air. Ho gathered his people in the hills. They had lost many, too many, but they were still fighting, still alive, still free. "Earth has received our message," reported. "The fleet is being assembled. They will come." "How long?" Ho asked. 2 weeks, maybe 3. 2 weeks. They had to survive for 2 weeks against an enemy that outnumbered them 100 to 1. It seemed impossible. But Ho looked at his people. He saw the farmer Guy, wounded but still holding his weapon. He saw Captain, exhausted but already planning the next attack. He saw Young and Mi Young and hundreds of others who had chosen to fight instead of surrender. 2 weeks, Ho said. "We can do that. They think they know what humans are capable of. They have only seen the beginning." He raised his voice so everyone could hear. "We are not soldiers. We are not warriors. We are farmers and teachers and engineers, but we are human, and humans do not give up. We fight until we win or until there is no one left to fight. Let them learn this lesson the hard way." A cheer rose from the crowd. It was not a loud cheer. They were too tired and too hurt for that, but it was strong. It was defiant. It was human. The first battle was over. The war had just begun. And somewhere in the galaxy, the Galactic Council heard about what was happening on 7. High Chancellor read the reports and shook his head sadly. "We warned them," he said to his advisors. "We told them not to push the humans. Now they will learn why." One of his advisors looked worried. "Should we intervene, High Chancellor?" Considered this. Then he shook his head. "No, they made their choice. Now they must live with the consequences or die from them." He turned away from the reports and looked out at the stars. "Besides, this is not our war to fight. This is humanity's war, and I suspect they will fight it better than anyone expects." He was right. Earth received the distress signal at 3:47 in the morning, Geneva time. The message traveled across thousands of light years, bouncing through relay stations and communication networks until it reached the United Earth Defense Command. Admiral was sleeping when his communicator screamed. He was 62 years old, with gray hair and scars from battles fought long ago. He had served humanity for 40 years, and he had hoped to retire soon. That hope died when he read the message from 7. Within an hour, he stood in the command center of Earth's largest space station. Around him, officers rushed between screens and consoles. The air was thick with tension and urgency. "Show me everything," ordered. The main screen lit up with data. 7. Fleet, 47 warships, 50,000 colonists, Commander Ho, Captain. The names and numbers scrolled past but focused on one thing, the last transmission from the colony. "We will resist, send help." "How long ago?" asked. 18 hours, Admiral, replied Commander Bai, his chief of staff. She was young and brilliant with a mind like a computer. "Given the distance, the message took 6 hours to reach us." "So they have been fighting for almost a full day," muttered, "against 47 warships." 3 enemy ships destroyed, Admiral. 3 more damaged. That was the last update before the communication relay went down. Allowed himself a small smile. 3 ships destroyed by a colony with almost no military resources. That was impressive. That was human. "What forces can we assemble?" he asked. Bai pulled up another screen. "The first fleet is currently at Earth, 28 warships. The third fleet is at Mars Station, 15 ships. The Seventh Fleet is conducting exercises near Jupiter, 22 ships. That is 65 ships against 47, calculated. Good numbers, but it will take time to gather them all. We can have the combined fleet ready in 4 days, Admiral. Travel time to 7 is 12 more days at maximum speed. 16 days total, shook his head. Too long, the colony will not survive that long. There is another option, Bai said carefully. The Ninth Fleet is currently at station. Only 18 ships, but they can reach 7 in 6 days. 18 against 47, frowned. That is not good numbers. No, Admiral, but Commander leads the Ninth. He is one of our best. Thought about this. Sending 18 ships into a fight against 47 was dangerous. Many of those ships would not come back. Many good people would die. But if he waited for the full fleet, the colonists of 7 would die first. Send the Ninth Fleet immediately, decided. Full speed to 7. Tell Commander to engage the enemy and protect the colonists. The rest of us will follow as soon as possible. Yes, Admiral. And Bai's voice became hard as iron. Send a message to every human ship, station, and colony in the galaxy. Tell them what they have done. Tell them that we are going to war. The message spread like fire. Every human in the galaxy heard about the attack on 7. They heard about the colonists fighting against impossible odds. They heard about Commander Ho and Captain and the farmers who had become warriors. And they responded. On a mining station near Saturn, workers put down their tools and volunteered for military service. On a research station at the edge of human space, scientists began working on new weapons. On Earth itself, millions of people demanded action. Recruitment offices were flooded with volunteers. The President of the United Earth Government addressed the galaxy. Her name was So-Ra, and she was known for being calm and careful. But today, her eyes burned with cold anger. The Empire has attacked our people, she said. They have invaded our colony. They have killed our citizens. This was not an accident. This was not a mistake. This was a choice, and now we will make our choice. She paused, letting her words sink in. The Galactic Council warned the not to attack humanity. They did not listen. They thought we were weak. They thought we would surrender. They thought wrong. Her voice rose with power. We are humanity. We have crawled from caves to starships. We have survived ice ages and world wars and plagues and disasters that would have destroyed any other species. We do not surrender. We do not forgive. And we do not forget. To the people of 7, hold on, help is coming. To the Empire, you wanted a war. Now you have one. The message ended. Across the galaxy, humans cheered, ships launched, soldiers marched. An entire species prepared for battle. Commander received his orders aboard his flagship, the UES Vengeance. He was a serious man with hard eyes and a reputation for winning impossible fights. His crew trusted him completely. Set course for 7, he ordered. Maximum speed, all weapons charged and ready. His first officer, Lieutenant, looked worried. Commander, we are 18 ships against 47. The math is not in our favor. The math is never in our favor, replied. That is what makes us human. We win anyway. He stood up from his command chair and addressed his entire crew through the ship's communication system. Listen to me, all of you. We are going into a fight that we might not survive. Our brothers and sisters on 7 have been fighting for days against an enemy that outnumbers them 100 to 1. They have not given up. They will not give up, and neither will we. He let his words settle into every heart on the ship. They think they know what war is. They have fought against species that surrender when the battle turns bad. They have never fought humans. They do not understand that we would rather die than kneel. They will learn, and we will teach them. The Ninth Fleet jumped into hyperspace. 18 ships, carrying 10,000 humans, racing toward a battle that would decide the fate of a colony. Back on 7, time moved slowly. They had brought 30,000 more soldiers to the surface. They controlled the city and the plains around it, but they did not control the hills, the forests, or the mountains. That was where the humans hid. Ho had divided his people into small groups. They lived in caves and tunnels, moving every few days to avoid detection. They ate whatever food they could find. They slept in shifts, always watching for the enemy. And every night they attacked. Led a raid against a supply depot. Her team stole weapons and food, then destroyed what they could not carry. They disappeared into the darkness before the enemy could respond. Young discovered a patrol near the eastern mountains. His group ambushed them, killing 12 soldiers and capturing their equipment. Then they vanished like ghosts. Old Guy organized the civilians in the underground shelters. He kept them fed, kept them calm, and kept them believing that help would come. When search teams got close, he led them through hidden passages to safety. Every day the humans grew weaker. They had lost many fighters. Their ammunition was running low. Their medical supplies were almost gone, but they kept fighting. General commanded the ground forces. He was frustrated beyond words. His soldiers controlled most of the planet, but they could not find the humans. Every night brought new attacks. Every patrol sent into the wilderness lost people. They are like insects, he complained to Admiral Thrax. You crush one and 10 more appear. Thrax was having his own problems. His fleet had lost 3 ships to the surprise attack on the landing zone. 3 more were badly damaged. And now, his sensors were detecting something approaching. Admiral, his sensor officer, reported nervously. Human ships, 18 of them. They will arrive in 6 hours. Thrax smiled. Only 18 against my 44, this will be easy. But something in his chest felt tight. He remembered the 3 ships that had attacked his fleet when he first arrived. 3 ships against 47, and they had damaged 2 of his vessels before dying. What would 18 ships do? Prepare for battle, Thrax ordered. All ships to combat positions. We will crush these humans and end this war today. His officers hurried to obey. The fleet formed a defensive line between the approaching humans and the planet. They were confident. They had numbers on their side. They did not understand what was coming. On the surface, Ho received a message through a hidden communication device. It was short, sent from the approaching human fleet. Hold on, we are coming, 6 hours. Ho gathered his leaders, Young, Guy, and the others who had survived this long. They looked tired and wounded, but their eyes still held fire. Help is coming, Ho told them. 6 hours, we need to keep them busy, draw their attention, make them look at us instead of the sky. What do you want us to do? Asked. Ho smiled grimly. Attack, everything we have, hit them everywhere at once, make them think we are 1,000 fighters instead of a few hundred. That will cost us many lives, Mi-young said quietly. I know. Ho's voice was heavy with the weight of his decision. But if we do nothing, our fleet will face 44 warships. If we can distract them, make them send ships back to the surface, our fleet will face fewer enemies. He looked at each of his leaders. I will not order anyone to do this. This is a choice. Those who want to fight, stand with me. Those who want to hide and wait, I understand. No one will judge you. For a long moment, no one moved, then stepped forward. I have not come this far to stop now. Young joined her. My family is in the shelters, I fight for them. One by one, they all stepped forward. Every leader, every fighter who could still hold a weapon, they chose to fight. Ho felt pride swell in his chest. Then let us show the what humans are made of, one last time. They moved out into the night, small groups heading in different directions. They would attack at dawn when the twin suns rose. They would attack with everything they had. And in the sky above, 18 human warships raced towards 7. Commander stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, watching the stars streak past. How long? He asked. 5 hours, Commander replied. Nodded. 5 hours. Then the real battle would begin. He thought about the colonists on the planet below, farmers and teachers and engineers, fighting against one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. They had held for almost 2 weeks with almost nothing. "They are the best of us," said quietly. "We cannot let them down." "We will not," Commander promised. The fleet flew on, the clock counted down, the galaxy held its breath. The humans were coming. The twin suns rose over 7, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. It was beautiful. It was also the signal. Ho pressed his radio. "All teams, attack." The humans struck everywhere at once. In the ruined city, small groups emerged from hidden tunnels and attacked positions. In the forests, ambushed teams hit patrol units. In the mountains, fighters with captured weapons fired down on enemy camps. General was eating breakfast when the first reports came in. Then more reports. Then more. His face turned pale as he realized what was happening. "They are attacking across the entire planet," his lieutenant said. "Hundreds of separate strikes." "How many humans are there?" demanded. "We thought most of them were dead." "We do not know, General. They keep appearing from nowhere." Grabbed his communicator. "Admiral Thrax, we need support. Send landing ships with reinforcements immediately." In orbit, Thrax received the request with annoyance. The human fleet was only 3 hours away. He needed every ship in position to defend against them. "How bad is it on the surface?" Thrax asked. "The humans are attacking everywhere, Admiral. We are losing control of multiple sectors." Thrax cursed in his native language. These humans were more trouble than they were worth. A simple colony raid had turned into a nightmare. "I will send 5 ships down to provide air support," Thrax decided. "That will have to be enough. I cannot weaken the fleet with the enemy approaching." "Understood, Admiral." 5 warships broke formation and descended toward the planet. Their weapons began firing on human positions. Buildings exploded. Forests burned. The balance of the battle shifted. But that was exactly what Ho wanted. 5 ships left the fleet, reported from his hidden position. Our scanners confirmed it. Ho nodded. 5 ships gone meant 5 fewer ships to fight, Commander. It was not much, but it was something. "Keep pressing," Ho ordered. "Make them send more." The fighting intensified. The humans attacked with desperate fury, knowing that help was close. The defenders struggled to respond to so many threats at once. Led her team through the burning streets of the city. Soldiers were everywhere, but they were confused and scared. The humans had become monsters in their eyes, creatures that could not be killed, could not be stopped. "There," pointed at a command post. "We take that out. Their communications in this sector go dark." "That is heavily guarded," Young observed. "At least 30 soldiers." "Then we will need to be creative," turned to Mi-young. "Do you have any of those special devices left?" Mi-young smiled and patted her bag. "2 of them. I was saving them for something important." "This is important." They planned quickly. Mi-young would create a distraction with her explosive devices while the others attacked from the sides. It was risky. It was probably stupid, but it was their best option. "Ready?" asked. Her team nodded. These people had been strangers 2 weeks ago. Now they were family, bound together by blood and fire and the will to survive. "Go!" Mi-young ran forward and threw her first device. It was not a bomb. It was something she had invented herself. A combination of chemicals that exploded into a cloud of blinding smoke and deafening noise. The guards stumbled back, covering their eyes and ears. The team attacked from both sides. They moved fast and hit hard. Soldiers fell before they could react. In 30 seconds, the command post was theirs. "Plant the charges," ordered. "We have 2 minutes before reinforcements arrive." They worked quickly, placing explosives throughout the building. Then they ran. Behind them, the command post exploded, sending a pillar of fire into the sky. In orbit, Admiral Thrax watched the chaos on the planet below. More and more reports of attacks, more and more casualties, and now a command post destroyed. Admiral, his sensor officer called out, "The human fleet, they are here." Thrax turned to the main screen. 18 ships emerged from hyperspace, their weapons already charging. They formed a tight formation, moving with perfect coordination. "All ships prepare for battle," Thrax commanded. "Fire at will." The space above 7 erupted into war. Commander stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, his eyes fixed on the enemy fleet. 39 ships against his 18. The odds were bad, but they had been bad before. "All ships execute pattern Alpha 7, ordered. Focus fire on their lead vessels, break their formation." The human fleet moved like a single creature. They had trained together for years. They knew each other's movements before they happened. The fleet, by contrast, was a collection of ships that had never fought together. The first volley of human weapons struck a cruiser. Its shields flickered and died. A second volley tore through its hull. The ship exploded. "One down," Lieutenant reported. 38 to go. The returned fire. Human shields absorbed the hits, but they could not hold forever. Knew he needed to end this fight quickly. "Bring us in close," he ordered. "Knife fighting range." Commander looked surprised. "That is extremely dangerous." "Yes, but they are not trained for close combat. They like to fight at distance where their numbers matter. If we get close, it becomes ship against ship, skill against skill." The human fleet charged forward. They were caught off guard by the aggressive move. They tried to spread out, to use their superior numbers, but the humans were too fast. The battle became chaos. Ships twisted and turned, firing at point-blank range. Explosions lit up the darkness of space. Metal screamed as hulls were torn apart. Lieutenant commanded a squadron of fighter craft launched from the Vengeance. She was 28 years old, with quick reflexes and a natural talent for flying. Her squadron of 12 fighters dove through the battle, targeting weapon systems. "Watch your left," Pilot Jin called out. "Enemy fighter approaching." "I see him," Jin replied. He spun his craft and fired. The enemy fighter became a ball of fire. Squadron damaged 3 enemy cruisers and destroyed a dozen enemy fighters. They lost 4 of their own in the process. Felt each death like a knife in her heart, but she kept fighting. Admiral Thrax watched his fleet being torn apart. He had expected the humans to stay at distance, to try to wear down his forces with hit-and-run attacks. Instead, they had charged straight in like maniacs. "They are insane," he muttered. "Absolutely insane." "Admiral, we have lost 8 ships. 4 more are critically damaged." 8 ships gone against only 3 human vessels destroyed. The numbers were getting worse, not better. "Fall back," Thrax ordered. "All ships fall back and regroup." The fleet tried to retreat, but the humans followed them. Commander was not going to let them escape. "Press the attack," ordered. "Do not give them time to recover." The chase continued for an hour. The fleet scattered and reformed multiple times. Each time they lost more ships. Each time the humans took losses too, but fewer. Finally, Thrax called for a complete withdrawal. His remaining 24 ships fled toward the edge of the system. The 5 ships providing support on the planet were ordered to retreat as well. "Do we pursue?" Commander asked. Shook his head. "No, we have achieved our objective. The colony is safe for now. We need to protect the planet, not chase a beaten enemy." He looked at the tactical display. 15 human ships remained from the original 18. Thousands of crew members were dead. It was a victory, but it was a costly one. "Open a channel to the colony," ordered. Ho's voice came through, weak but alive. "Commander, thank you for coming." "We would never abandon our people, Commander Ho. Your resistance gave us the chance we needed. You and your colonists are heroes." There was silence on the other end. Then Ho spoke again, his voice breaking. Many of us did not survive to see this moment. Please remember them. We will, promised. We will never forget. On the surface, the soldiers watched their fleet disappear into the sky. They were abandoned, stranded on an enemy planet, surrounded by humans who had every reason to hate them. General knew it was over. He ordered his remaining forces to gather in the ruins of the main city. Then he did something no general had done in centuries. He surrendered. Ho received the surrender message with mixed feelings. Part of him wanted revenge. These creatures had destroyed his colony, killed his friends, and ruined everything he had built. But another part of him remembered that these were soldiers who had followed orders. Many of them were young, probably scared. They were not evil, they were just the enemy. Accept the surrender, Ho decided. Collect their weapons and secure them. We will let the government decide what to do with them. Stood beside him, watching the soldiers lay down their arms. You are more forgiving than I would be. Revenge will not bring back our dead, Ho said tiredly. And showing mercy might prevent the next war. The will remember that we could have slaughtered them, but we chose not to. Do you really believe that will matter? Ho shrugged. I do not know, but I want to believe in something better than endless killing. In the shelters, the civilians emerged for the first time in weeks. Children cried when they saw the sun. Old people fell to their knees and wept. Families searched for loved ones, some finding joy, others finding grief. Young found his mother and father in the crowd. They held each other for a long time, not speaking, just breathing together. Mi-young found her daughter running toward her. The little girl jumped into her mother's arms. Mama, Mama, I knew you would come back. I promised, Mi-young whispered, tears streaming down her face. I always keep my promises. Gi walked through the ruins of his farm. Everything was destroyed. His home, his crops, his life's work. But he was alive. His neighbors were alive. They could rebuild. The twin suns set on 7. The first sunset after the battle, the first sunset of peace. But the war was not over. Admiral Thrax was racing back to the Empire with the remains of his fleet. Emperor would hear about the defeat, and decisions would be made that would shake the entire galaxy. Commander looked at the planet from orbit. The lights of the colony were starting to come back on, one by one, signs of life returning to a world that had nearly died. Rest while you can, said quietly to no one in particular. The main fleet will be here soon, and then we are going to finish what the started. He meant every word. The United Earth Fleet arrived at 7-12 days after the first battle. 65 warships, the largest human force ever assembled. Admiral stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UES Retribution, and looked at the battered colony below. Status of Commander's fleet, asked. 15 ships operational, Admiral. They have been guarding the colony since the retreat. Commander reports that the enemy has not returned. Nodded. Send my compliments to Commander. His fleet performed above all expectations. Yes, Admiral. Walked to the window and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Empire was preparing its response. Emperor would not accept defeat easily. He would send more ships, more soldiers. He would try to wash away his shame with human blood. But was not going to wait for that. Set course for Prime, ordered. All ships, we are taking the war to their home. The fleet jumped into hyperspace, leaving only a small force to protect 7. They traveled for 8 days through the darkness between stars. On the 9th day, they emerged in the home system. Emperor was in his throne room when he received the news. His face went pale, then dark with rage. How many ships? He demanded. 80, my Emperor. They are approaching Prime directly. Stood up from his throne. He walked to the window and looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, human warships were coming for him. How many ships do we have? He asked quietly. 52, my Emperor. Many of our vessels are still damaged from the 7 campaign. 52 against 80, had always believed in superiority. He had been taught since birth that his species was stronger, smarter, and more advanced than any other. But the humans had proven that belief wrong. "Call the Galactic Council," said suddenly. "Request emergency mediation." His advisor looked surprised. "My Emperor, you wish to negotiate?" "I wish to survive," replied coldly. "We cannot win this war. Every battle proves that the humans are more dangerous than we imagined. If we fight to the end, there will be no empire left." Nodded slowly. "I will send the message, my Emperor." The request for mediation reached the Galactic Council within hours. High Chancellor read it and allowed himself a small smile. He had warned they had not listened. Now they were begging for help. "Contact Admiral," ordered. "Tell him they are requesting peace negotiations. Ask if humanity is willing to talk." Admiral received the message as his fleet approached Prime. He considered it for a long time. Part of him wanted to continue the attack. They had killed many humans. They deserved to pay for that. But was a soldier, not a monster. And more importantly, he was tired of death. "Accept the mediation," decided. "Tell the Council we will negotiate, but we will not withdraw our fleet until an agreement is reached. The need to understand that we are negotiating from strength, not weakness." The negotiations took place on a neutral station owned by the Council. Emperor came with his advisors. Admiral came with commander and representatives from the Earth government. High Chancellor served as mediator. They sat across from each other at a long table. Eyes were filled with hatred and shame. Eyes were calm and patient. They were opposites in every way. "The terms are simple," President Sora said through a video connection from Earth. "The Empire will pay full compensation for the damage done to Seven. They will release all prisoners. They will publicly apologize for the unprovoked attack, and they will agree to a permanent non-aggression treaty." His jaw tightened. "These terms are humiliating." "You started a war you could not win," replied calmly. "These terms are generous. We could have continued fighting until your entire empire was ashes. We chose not to." "Why?" demanded. "Why show mercy after what we did to your people?" Leaned forward. "Because we are not like you. We do not enjoy destruction. We fight when we must, but we prefer peace. Accept these terms and this war ends. Refuse, and we will continue until there is nothing left of your empire to negotiate with." The room was silent. Looked at his advisors, nodded slightly. The choice was clear. "We accept," said through gritted teeth. The agreement was signed that day. The war between humanity and the Empire was officially over. It had lasted less than a month, but it had changed everything. News of the peace spread across the galaxy. Every species watched and learned. The Galactic Council's warning about humans had been proven true in the most dramatic way possible. A young species from a small blue planet had defeated one of the most powerful empires in known space. High Chancellor called a special session of the Council. Representatives from 300 species gathered in the Great Hall. In the center, a new seat had been placed, a seat for humanity. Admiral entered the hall with President Sora at his side. They walked to the new seat together, feeling the weight of 300 gazes upon them. Stood at the podium. "Fellow members of the Council, we gather today to formally recognize humanity as a full member of the galactic community. They have earned this place through courage, strength, and a surprising capacity for mercy." He turned to the human representatives. "Admiral, President Sora, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome you. May your species continue to surprise us in the centuries to come." Sora stepped forward to speak. "Thank you, High Chancellor. Humanity did not ask for this war. We did not want it. But when our people were threatened, we responded with everything we had. That is what humans do. We protect our own." She looked around the hall at the assembled representatives. "Let this be a lesson to all who are watching. We do not seek conflict. We do not desire conquest, But if you attack us, if you threaten our homes and our families, we will fight, and we will not stop until the threat is ended. However, she continued, her voice softening, we also believe in second chances. They made a terrible mistake and they paid for it, but we did not destroy them. We offered peace and they accepted. That is also what humans do. We know how to forgive. The hall was silent. Then, slowly, applause began. It started with a few species and spread until the entire chamber was filled with the sound of approval. On 7, the rebuilding had begun. Commander Ho supervised the construction of new buildings to replace those destroyed in the fighting. Captain trained a new defense force, determined that the colony would never be caught unprepared again. Young had returned to farming. His hands that had held weapons now held seeds. He planted new crops in the burned fields, hoping that life would grow again. Mi Young had been offered a position in the Earth Defense Force. Her improvised weapons had saved many lives, but she chose to stay on 7, to be with her daughter, to help rebuild the home she had fought for. Old Guy sat on a rock overlooking the valley where his farm had been. Everything was gone, but the land remained, and on the land he could see the first green sprouts pushing through the ash. Life was returning. Found Ho standing at the memorial they had built for the fallen, a simple stone wall with names carved into it. So many names. Farmers and teachers and engineers who had become warriors, who had given everything for their home. "How are you?" asked. Ho did not answer for a long moment. "I have been thinking about what happened, about the choices we made, about the people we lost. We did what we had to do." "Yes, but I keep wondering if there was another way, if we could have prevented this somehow." Put her hand on his shoulder. "They chose to attack us. That was their decision, not ours. We simply refused to be victims." "I know," Ho sighed. "I just wish it had not cost so much." They stood together in silence, reading the names on the wall. Friends, colleagues, heroes. A message arrived for Ho. He read it and smiled sadly. "Admiral has recommended me for the Medal of Humanity, the highest military honor Earth can give." "You deserve it," said. "I do not feel like a hero. I feel like a man who did terrible things because there was no other choice." "That is what heroism is," replied. "Doing what must be done, even when it breaks your heart." The twin suns set over 7. Another day ended. Another day of rebuilding, of healing, of moving forward. Across the galaxy, the story of 7 became legend. Children on 100 worlds learned about the farmers who fought back, about the colony that refused to surrender, about the species that would not be broken. The remembered, too. Emperor retired in shame, replaced by a new leader who wanted nothing to do with war. The empire became one of humanity's most careful neighbors, always respectful, always cautious. High Chancellor lived for another 200 years. In all that time, no species ever attacked humanity again. The warning he had given was no longer necessary. Everyone had seen what happened to those who ignored it. And in the great hall of the Galactic Council, the human seat remained. A reminder that the small blue planet had grown up, that the young species had earned its place among the stars. Not through diplomacy, not through trade, through blood and fire and an unbreakable will to survive. They had dismissed the Council's warning about humans. They had faced total annihilation. They would never forget that lesson. Neither would anyone else.